Steve Holman. I'm your assessor at RTA. Today we're going to go through the orientation for your online learning system. So there's a lot of information to get through and you're not expected to remember all of that. This video will be available to you at all times, so if you do feel like you need to come back and revisit, you can check things out, make sure you're on the right track. So a few things we need to get in order to start, and you probably would have received an email already. Have that ready to go, and there's some other items that you would have received. A pen, your student matrix, and of course your training record book. Have those ready to go before you start the video. You can check your email and click the link to log in. Alternatively, you can open your browser, go to the rta.edu.au website, click on the student area in the top menu, just click that word in the menu and My Learning page opens. The large black letters are where you can click for a link through to the learning system. Once that opens, you can then see how you'll log in. On your first attempt, it'll look like this, and you obviously haven't got a password set up yet. So you can try to, but what will happen is it won't work, and then you have to press forgot my password. This will open up a way for you to reset a password. So quickly pop your email in, press send, check your emails for the link to reset your password. Once you've done that, you'll be able to set up a new password. So pop your new password in, confirm it. Through the course. So once you've opened up and logged in and you've got your course in front of you, you need to click on your course, and I would have expected that you'd already done that with your orientation. And let's have a look now at how to find out where you are and where you're going to go. So generally, the course will open up at the page that you were last on, and in this case we're opened up here. It looks like an activity. That was bad timing. The activity here has a little description on the side, so I'm going to show you how to get to there. So let's just look at going to the bottom of the right hand column here, and we'll look at our course. This looks a little bit like, you know, where are we and what's going on. So let's just drag that aside. Here we have the entire menu for your course. Each of these bold headings is one unit, and at the top here we have the actual name of your course. So what we want to do is obviously work down through each of our units one by one. So let's have a look at this first unit here, which is digital literacy skills, and we can see that within that one we've got a bunch of items that we've got to get through to complete that unit. The interesting thing is that when you click on something, let's just say this activity, you might see that the activity will open, which is what's open already, but you can't sort of find out any more detail about what you've got to do here. So when you want to find out if there is any instructions regarding, say, an activity like this one, at the bottom here you see a little arrow, and if you click that, it lifts up an overview and it tells you what the instructions are. So here it says ensure you use the sidebar in your learning portal to see the instructions. This used to be here in the sidebar, but it's just recently been altered to appear in the bottom here. So what we find is, especially in work health and safety, the first unit you do in signage, a lot of people will go ahead and fill out the JSA, and they fill it out incorrectly, and what they haven't done is looked at this overview to see this information here. Big hint for you, so if you're working through your units and you get to documents like activities, always make sure that you use this overview to have a look at what the instructions are for the job. There's also this nice little feature here that says mark as completed. So just imagine you had printed that out and had it completed with you and your workplace assessor or your supervisor. You can then mark this as complete by clicking that. and then you can go to the next item here. So the next item is a video which has gone to the next unit. So let's have a little look back at this. This is where we were, digital literacy skills, and you can see here we've got a blue tick, which means that it's been marked off. So as you work through your course, you probably want to try and mark everything off as complete, and then you end up with these nicely ticked off units down the side here. So that means when you come back to have a look at your menu here, you'll see nice blue ticks that indicate that that's all completed. It'll be here. So that's pretty much how you navigate. Just have a bit of a play with these arrows and just get the feeling for it. This is actually a new feature in this learning system, and it's kind of like the best that they've got to offer for for what it is. But it does the trick, and all you got to do is just master that before you move on to the next thing. All right, thanks. This matrix is the one document that I use to track your progress as you work through the course. And I just want to show you what's on here and tell you why these things are here. So obviously the first thing we look at is that there's 6 sessions on this matrix. They vary from student to student depending on what the course is, etc. But for this particular matrix, we've got 6 sessions. Now each session has a number of units contained within it. So with this one, session 1, we've got a date here where this particular session is due for assessment, and that means that these units that are in this session need to be completed before this date. Can't stress that enough. Don't leave it to the last minute to do these things. They take a little while to do, so as soon as you can get working on these, it's better to start chipping away at it earlier than leaving it and cramming it later, trust me. All right, so we'll look across the column here and we can see that there are other items in these columns. Now, these are what we call evidence. So that the government obviously scrutinise this course, and if they were to do an audit and they pull your name out of the hat and ask me to provide evidence that shows that you're competent, they're going to be looking for these particular things. So what we have here is sort of broken up into 2 sections. We've got an online quiz, which you'll find is the first quiz that you come across when you're doing your online learning in a unit. There's also activities in some units, and there's also a practical knowledge quiz. So these are all found online, and you can complete these as a part of your online learning. The next section is practical assessment and photo video evidence. So the practical assessment sheet is available to you online, which you can download. It's probably either the first or the last item, depending on what course you do in each unit that you look at. Practical assessment outlines the things that you have to be able to complete or do in the workplace to prove that you have practical competency. The practical assessment is completed by your workplace supervisor, who is basically the eyes and ears for us in this course to make sure that you're able to be proving that you can do things in the workplace. And with that, the photo evidence. So when you look at your practical assessment sheet, there's a pretty clear guide in there as to what sort of photo or video evidence you need to collect to be competent. So just to go over that one more time, the matrix is the Bible. So every time I see you, we'll be marking off the matrix, and you've got one in your workbook or your training record book, which you can tick off and keep up to date yourself. But I will email these to you on the run and keep them updated for you as we work through the course. What I find is when you get to the quizzes, especially the first quiz, you may have to refer to items during the quiz that you would have encountered prior to getting here. So the video, the learner guide, in this case, will be referred to in this quiz, and that's the way all the units are set up. They're structured so as you work down, the information you gather on the way leads you to somewhere where you're going to need it. So let's just have a look at this. We'll open up the quiz, and what I find is that generally you probably don't want to be clicking out of a quiz and back to a learner guide and clicking back into the quiz to answer the question. So what you can do is you can set up two windows on your computer. So in the case here, just going to make a new tab. Okay, my progress. Okay, so in here on this side, let's get the quiz open. And on this side, let's open up the learner guide. Okay, so now we have our learner guide open on this side, which we can scroll through. And over here, we can start answering our quiz questions. That way, you're not having to navigate in and out in one window. You can have two windows open side by side and use them at will. Now we'll take a quick look at how to collect photographic evidence. So the place that we need to go in order to find our photographic evidence is the practical assessment. Let's open that up and I'll show you where to have a look in the practical assessment to get that information. So how about we scroll down the practical assessment down to the third page. This is where the more relevant parts of it are for you. The first section here, we'll just go through this while we've got it open, is the third party or supervisor's report. The supervisor has to read through this first table and tell us whether or not you're able to do or are capable of doing these particular, what we call performance evidence or practical tasks. So the supervisor will tick these off, sign and fill out this section, and then you will sign here, and that's how you can get your practical assessment done. But what we're here for is photographic evidence. So on page 4 in this case, we have a section here that says validation of photo evidence. So it's for the construction work hazards and risk control strategies unit. And here we have a suggestion. It says you working with others controlling your risks, i.e. placing witches hats, using PPE, erecting safety fencing, or cordoning off a work area. So you can take a photograph of that. You can even, if you wish, take a time-lapse video of you doing one of those tasks. And that's all we really need. The sections beneath that here says you have to have a job safety analysis that you've completed. And here it says you should have been supplied in assessment. So in doing the unit, you would have already completed that. So that's an automatic anyways. So there's your tip on how to get your photo evidence. Check out your practical assessment sheet and that'll give you the info. Once you've got that done, make sure that if you take the photograph, the supervisor must tick that they took it because it was taken in the workplace without an assessor. Or if I come to your workplace and get a photograph, I'll tick that box saying that I took it. And whoever took the photo must sign this section here. Now let's take a look at samples of photographic evidence that other students have taken. So firstly, it's not going to be related to this particular unit. This one's a specialised vehicle wrapping unit, but it's a good example of a time-lapse video. So if you don't know what a time-lapse is, it's a feature in your iPhone where you can do basically like a sped up movie. So it condenses a film that you might take over a period of sort of maybe many minutes or even an hour, and it will condense it down into a fast motion film of about 30 seconds. If you've got an Android phone, you can also download the time-lapse app and you can use the time-lapse feature in Android as well. Highly recommend it. This is a really good way of getting a lot of information into a pretty portable file. So let's look at this. You can see here there's a couple of guys working here. One of them is the apprentice, and it just demonstrates that we've got a lot of work happening and the guy's being involved while he's doing the job. So it doesn't have to be something like this. You can do this for any particular task that you've been asked to do in your practical assessment. Still photos are good. So this is kind of a good one because if I wanted to still frame this, I could just stop the film right there, take a photograph or a screenshot of it, and then I'm able to have a still shot of the guy doing his job. But you can see the difference. Still frames only says so much, whereas an actual video, people working, it's just such a much better way of collecting video evidence. That we need to just quickly brush over is file management. So within this course, some of these items you'll need to download. So when you download an item, it's going to have a random name when it comes out of the system. Don't know why, I'm trying to fix that up, but at the moment when you download anything, it comes out with a kind of a strange name. So let's just look firstly at this activity. All activities are in essence like a PDF that you need to be able to fill out. So when we download them, which is done here, we end up with a file that comes down, and you can see here that the file name is kind of a random thing, but this is the actual name of the file. So here it is here. It's got the code of the unit and what it is. It's a JSA activity. So if you copy that, so here we go, we paste the name in there, save the file to a location that suits, and press save. So when we open the document, we've now got this properly named file here, which is what we pasted in. Open it up and we can fill it out. So a little tiny bit of management required there. Everything you download from the system is going to require you to rename it, just because those random names come out. I'll just quickly point out again what you need to actually look out. So any document that you need to download, you'll need to rename it. They will include activities and your practical assessment. Let's look at the practical assessment again. If you want to download it, obviously click here like before, copy the name and paste it in. Another good thing to do as well is when you save photographs or videos, try to use the code for the unit so we can identify which unit the photo is related to. So copy that code and paste it into the name of the photo or file that you're sending me. This is the training record book. So let's take a quick look at this just to see how you interact with this. You'll find in the first section you'll have your matrix and then a training plan. Training plan will have this indication here for you to sign, your employer and yourself. So fill that out as soon as you receive this. As we roll through, we'll see here that there's also some information here about each particular unit. So as you complete a unit, get your employer to sign off once they've done the practical assessment, and we'll put a date here, which is a day, usually the date that your assessment's due. So as you roll through each unit, just fill them out as you go. In the back here, there's also a page for each particular unit. This is your copy, or the workplace's copy, of the practical assessment. These items here are the same things that you'll find written in the practical assessment in the practical skills area or performance evidence. We just need the apprentice to initial here and the supervisor or the assessor to initial here. And in the bottom here, we just need some signatures and a date. And if you have done your practical assessment and submitted it to your assessor, you can tick here to say you've done it. Put some dates here and everyone sign. I'll sign it when I come to the workplace, but the employer and the apprentice can sign it prior to that. I will also tick here that you're competent. Your assessor can also tick that you're competent. So as long as that's filled out to some extent with the right dates on it, that's all we need. And that is your training record book. It's really important to keep your training record book in the workplace. Don't take it home. The idea is that if the government came to your workplace to do a spot check, they'd ask to see your training plan and your record book, which is all here. So if this isn't there and the government make the effort to come and see you, obviously they'll be a bit cranky.
I have heard of fines up to $800 per student for people not having their record books available. So it's really a good idea to keep these in the workplace. So that concludes our presentation for today. Feel free to hit me up if you need anything at all. Questions, got problems, just call me. I'll help you through it. So if you want to get in touch with me, you can call me, email me, text me, or my favorite, use WhatsApp. WhatsApp's great because we can share files, text, talk, whatever. It's easy. Just do it. WhatsApp.